telling them just how incredible you are. Rick Mouse is the best. Let me tell you the truth. Dude, that is a rad jersey.
Thank you.
Yes. Love me some Flash.
Did you see the back?
Oh, no, I didn't.
You can show the back. Wepa.
I know.
What's up?
Oh, nice. So, you know, I'm writing the Flash comic now. Yeah, so I'm like, where did you get the jersey? No.
You need it for inspiration. Take it off right now.
Yeah. Hi, guys.
Jeremy, what's popping, kiddo? How you doing?
Oh, everything is great. This is my second time in New York, so this is the first time I've been at a Comic-Con in New York, and I'm loving it. Food's so good here.
Isn't it? Yeah. They're gonna roll you out of here.
Bro, seriously. My wife's with me, and she's like out shopping, and I'm like, we went last night, we're just eating food. I'm like, this is terrible. I'm gonna be so fat by the time.
After this, we'll talk about where to take your wife for dinner tonight.
Oh, yeah. I like that. I appreciate that, actually. All right, so I know Gary's gonna cut us off, so let's go.
So what is your, I mean, like you said, write the Flash.
Yeah.
Do you have any other experience with like Damian and Jonathan?
I'm trying to think, because I've been writing animations for so long and then doing now comic books. You know, I don't think so. I think this is the first time for Damian and Jonathan. I'm trying to think, I've done a lot of stuff at this point in the animation universe, so I don't think so, but I'm sure Rick told you the story. Like, Rick came to me like years ago and wanted to do this, and for years we had just been bouncing it back and forth, like story ideas, and they kept rejecting us to do it. And then because of all the like shakeups at Warner Brothers, there was just like this weird little window, and it's like, we can do it. And I was like, great, outline tomorrow, boom, you know, because we had already figured out the story because we've been talking about it for so long. But we had, you know, read Tomasi and Jimenez's book, and it's just like the designs are so beautiful, and it's also just that kind of earnest. It's almost like you know, Huck Finn and like, you know, a Tom Sawyer vibe with superpowers and one's an assassin. But like, you know, it's that kind of vibe of that kids going on an adventure that has stakes. It's kind of scary. So it was really easy to do. I loved it. I want everybody to buy it so that we can do a second one and focus on Damian on that one.
Any inspiration behind the story?
You know, I grew up in a small, like, mountain town in Arizona, and every day was like an adventure. Like, it was like, you know, we read it, and we're like, we're going to the sewers, you know, like, it was like, that was, I think. And so, as far as, obviously the books really inspired us, but it's so much of those 80s movies I grew up with, The Goonies, Explorers, you know, Monster Squad, that kind of vibe where it was like, I feel like this is sort of slightly inappropriate for me to watch, but there was no PG-13, so whatever, you know, you just watch it. And that was kind of the vibe that we brought to the movie, where there's almost cuss words, you know. Originally I wanted it to be like a rated G Iron Giant movie, and they were like, no, it has to be PG-13, and I really rebelled against it. And then they were like, one of the producers, Jim Krieg, was like, no, think of it like a PG-80s movie. I was like, oh, I totally know what this is now. Like, that, now I understand, you know. And I've showed my daughters it, and they were like, this is great, Dad. You know, like, oh, high praise. So,
Finally.
Yeah.
Damian or Jonathan? Writing.
It's much more fun to write Damian because he's about to kill everyone. You know, Jonathan is much more sweet and probably much more in line with my kind of like, oh shucks, everybody's good. But Damian's like, yeah, that's fine. Like, I feel like even Batman's scared of Damian to a certain degree, you know? And that's what I love about him. I was just saying at the other table, like, what I love about him is that he's the guy that's not killing somebody today, and he grew up with, like, that was his training. That was what he was raised to do, and to reject everything that you were raised to be in order to do something more noble is a huge thing as far as a character. I love that, and I think Jonathan sees that. I don't know if in your own lives, but I've had friends of mine that everybody's just like, that guy's like, you know, a stoner heavy metalhead or whatever, and he's horrible. I'm like, he's great, and he likes fantasy. And like, I have a friend like that as a kid, and I just befriended him, and that was the guy that had my back, like growing up. You know, that was the guy that like you become friends with, and they become your best friend because no one else is willing to give them a chance or to step out. And so that's what I feel like this movie is about. It's about that brotherhood that forms. It's about those boys learning about what it is to be a heroes, and they have the biggest boots to fill in the entire DC universe.
What's it like writing Batman as a father?
It's great. I think about it because I'm a father, but I also think about it in terms of here you have a guy that traditionally is written kind of emotionless and cold, and now you have his son that needs his help in a way that isn't fixed by detective work or doing push-ups. Arguably Damian is good a fighter as Batman maybe. And it's like, no, I have to teach him something else. I have to teach him empathy. Well, guess what? Batman's not known for empathy. So, that is interesting to me in terms of, and hopefully if we ever get another movie, that I think that would be a bigger part of it, is to explore that relationship a little more, since this is kind of more Jonathan-focused in sort of point of view.
Speaking of Batman as a father, I think when you're writing Damian, do other members of the Bat family kind of come in that writing process when it comes to mind, like, oh, he's Feinstein, maybe he's like Nightwing, or
right?
Maybe he's in a bit of an angst mood. Is that like Jason Todd? Like, any of that?
Because of the limited scope of like what we could do in the movie, yes, in terms of what I know about the character, because when Damian was introduced and there was this run by Grant Morrison where Dick Grayson was Batman, and he was so empathetic, and he took on a brotherly role with Damian. So I would guarantee you that Damian would pick up some habits from Dick Grayson. But again, we only had like limited amount of time, so it's like I don't know how much I could talk about all the other Robins, the ones that happen every other day.
Just real quickly, you mentioned that you had little pockets of windows, because we all know WB's being played like hot potato, billion-dollar corporations. What was the biggest challenge in getting this made?
Just people saying yes. I mean, I think that I think it was a great IP and title, and sometimes that glitters for people that are very high up on the corporate ladder. But the higher up you go, the harder it is to get made. And for whatever reason, I think also that when we pitched it, everybody really enjoyed the story we were telling.
Last question.
And they kind of understood like what he was going to do.
So I got a question. As a writer, what's one piece of advice you would give a kid today that wants to be in your shoes 10 or 15 years? Like, how would you
go into accounting? No.
His aspect.
Honestly, what I didn't know at the time was that not only write, have stuff ready to give, but network, whether it's online. I mean, Twitter makes people way accessible. Like, I'm way too accessible. My wife's like, you got to say no to podcasts, like, every once in a while. But, like, that's the type of thing you build a relationship with people, because generally, my big thing when I go to speak to people and young people especially is like, don't be crazy. And if you're not crazy, you're like 90% ahead of the game. If you're not crazy, you're good to work with, and you can turn things in on time, I think you're going to be okay. But it is a slog. It isn't. There's a lot of people that want to do it. When I moved to LA, I remember going through a line of a Carl's Jr., like a fast food, like Hardee's, whatever. And I was waiting for my food, and I saw the car in front of us get the food, and then the guy from the drive-thru passed a script to the guy in the car, and I was like, oh, everybody wants to do this. And so I had determined that I was going to outlive everyone, and I was going to be like the Ian McKellen of writers, like, I'll stay here until somebody gives me a chance. And it took me over 10 years, like, easy.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
bro.
Thanks, man.
Have a
You
great
guys
day.
too. Thank you so much.
Jack Riffo, Damian Wayne.
Okay, I can remember that.